So my name is Scott Barry Kaufman, and I'm a cognitive scientist. I'm interested in the development of intelligence, creativity, personality, especially with linkages to education and business and how we can get the best out of people. So my research interests definitely stem from some early personal experiences. For the first 3 years of my life, I had auditory processing disorder. I had a lot of fluid in my ears, and it made me very slow to process information. I was put in special education when I was young, repeated third grade, bullied a lot, and all these early educational experiences where I was treated like I was ungifted, the opposite of gifted, led me to question my own capabilities. So, what can I exhibit that could defy other people's expectations, as well as when I eventually did start defying expectations, made me wonder other people, what they're capable of. I think if it weren't for a couple key teachers in my life who believed in me, I definitely I wouldn't have gone beyond, and I would have questioned my place in the educational system. So the traditional way to measure intelligence is through the IQ test, which is a test that includes a whole wide range of different kinds of cognitive abilities that are intellectual functions. So it may ask you to mentally rotate an object. It may ask you to, for vocabulary, may ask you to general knowledge. And that's the most traditional way to measure intelligence. In recent years, there's been researchers who've attempted to go beyond the traditional way of measuring intelligence, have proposed theories of multiple intelligences. So Howard Gardner has proposed there's 7 or 8 different intelligences, and he's included things like music and artistic skills, and actually I don't know if he includes artistic skills, music, dance, and spatial abilities, I guess, which would be related to artistic skills. And Robert Sternberg, who was my doctoral advisor, one of my doctoral advisors, proposed there's 3 types of intelligence. There's analytical, creative, and practical. So they've done a great service by broadening our idea of the kinds of key cognitive skills that are important for intellectual functioning. Most recently, I proposed the theory of personal intelligence, where I argue that all these other theories of intelligences that currently exist, while they have gone beyond the traditional IQ as the main metric, they still operate within this individual differences paradigm. So they're still comparing people to each other. They're saying, it's okay you're not good at music, you can still be good at math, or it's okay you're not good at math. And that sort of thinking, I wanted to break away from that sort of thinking, because I think it fosters a fixed mindset. And I wanted to cultivate more of a growth mindset, which is a term that Joshua Aronson and Carol Dweck use, who've done great research on the importance of viewing the development of abilities as this ongoing developmental process. And I wanted to argue that part of that developmental process is engagement, and I think the engagement aspect has been sorely lacking in prior conceptualizations of human intelligence. The thing that's one of the most interesting things to me is to see how people can go from appearing very tuned out and very almost unintelligent, and we prejudge their intelligence too soon. And then we get them engaged in a personally meaningful project or something that they really care deeply about, and you see them transform, and you see them really capable of things that if we wrote them off too soon, we would never have had the opportunity of seeing. So I think the engagement process is really important for understanding the expression of intelligence. Yeah, so I think that educators, it'd be really good for educators to become well informed of the latest science of development and the various key skills that are necessary for success in academia, as well as outside of school on the stage of life. And there is some really interesting work going on the importance of self-regulation, a key competency that allows you to regulate your emotions and regulate your thoughts so they don't interfere with the learning process. That seems to be a very key skill. I've already mentioned mindset is very important, having this fostering this growth mindset. But I also think that educators should be aware of the the potential detriment of low expectations for students, and I would encourage teachers to constantly look beyond the labels that they're being told. I mean, if a student is in special education, for instance, and you could be in special education for lots of reasons, from behavioral problems to dyslexia, reading problems, to math disability, lots of different reasons. And the crucial thing is to not view that person, the totality of that person, as disabled or learning disabled, but to recognize that, like all of us, there's various patterns of strengths and weaknesses, and we can play off of strengths a lot more than we currently do in the current educational paradigm. So some people treat intelligence as different than creativity, and in a conceptual way, they can be viewed differently from each other. If you view intelligence more traditionally as the ability to efficiently process information quickly, and learn, capacity for learning, abstract reasoning, some of these more traditional intellectual functions, and you can contrast that with creativity, which is the ability to generate new ideas, to think divergently, to use your imagination, to imagine future possibilities that don't necessarily exist. Now, there is a lot of overlap between intelligence, as I just defined it, and creativity, as I just defined it, because you can imagine that when you're trying to imagine the future, it's still necessary to draw on some of these intellectual functions, like your ability to focus and concentrate and reason and problem solve. A lot of creative problem solving, where there isn't an obvious solution, does require bringing in some of these intellectual processes, like what are called executive functions, which allow you to integrate lots of different information and then have this aha moment where you're like, that's the idea. So I don't think that these things that we call intelligence or creativity are necessarily, they're not completely distinct from each other. I think a better way to view the whole situation is that there's human cognition. Human cognition, all of us are a complex system of emotions and cognitive functions and motivations. We all have dreams, desires, values, personalities. We have lots of different ways we differ, but each of us is a whole person, a dynamic system. As a system, all these different skills can become integrated and feed off each other. It's possible to isolate particular variables, like say, this person differs from this person in intelligence, or this person differs from this person in creativity. But I don't think that does full justice to the full spectrum of what people are capable of doing, and it also ignores the context of all the other capabilities that person has when you just compare people based on one dimension. So I think that if you really want to get the best creatively out of people, I think it's best to look at that whole person and look at all the different unique value system that person can bring to the world and help them make that unique contribution to the world. When I was in 9th grade, I was still in special education, and a teacher who was covering for the regular teacher that day came in and saw my frustration. I was taking this untimed history test, and she's like, what's the problem here? You're not into this. And I was like, well, I have the rest of my life to take this test since it's untimed. So what's the point? And she saw I was very frustrated. But she took me aside after class and she asked me, she said, Iris, I have to ask you, why are you here? Why are you in special education? And I didn't have a good answer. I realized I did not have a good answer to that question. It was really the first time in my life that I ever thought, it ever dawned on me to ask myself, or even challenge my place in the hierarchical structure of the school system. But a switch, it was like a switch went off, and I was all of a sudden inspired to take myself out of special education and try, with the crutches off, to handle regular school. And I signed up for a wide range of different subjects, and I didn't do well in everything. But the important thing is that I for the first time in my life, searched for an identity, which I was robbed of the opportunity for an identity prior to 9th grade because people told me my identity. They said, you're learning disabled. Well, when I took that label off, it opened up incredible opportunities to really, for the first time in my life, explore who I really was and what I could offer the world uniquely.